Hail and well met, fellow freaks. Welcome to my first video in this format, where I make an illustration or two and talk over them. But Kirsty, you say, isn't that a normal speed paint? Don't you say, like, kinda? I'm starting off first with this art fight reference for my character, Jackie. He's a trans man who starts the story thinking he's a lesbian, so I'll be using both he and she as applicable. He's a time-traveling historian, who's sent to his past to take notes on daily life during the period. He's from modern day, or thereabouts, and was sent to the early 20th century. I'm not sure if this will end up being in the final draft, but I love the thematic image of him selling tickets for the Titanic in the full knowledge of what that means, and just like putting his whole heart and soul into it. A big part of, at this point, her whole arc is rediscovering how to interact with people as if they're fully realized humans rather than names on an obituary list. Like, that's a big part of, you are selling tickets to the quote-unquote unsinkable ship that you know most people on it are going to die. That's his whole bit. This is also one of my first forays into pixel art, so, which I still don't feel like I'm allowed to call this, despite the fact that it's pixelated and it's art. So you're literally watching me how to do, like, coloring and line art and shading in effectively real time. The big driving plot of the story is that she ends up with an eldritch beast in her head, which causes her whole life to implode. Which is kind of a net win in the long run, because my man was miserable and did not even know it. This egg would have never cracked if the life had not imploded. I really like the idea of the creature seeing out of her eyes, or maybe even stealing them entire, which is why you've got the yellow shine in the eyes. I think by the end of this piece, I've got a little representation of the guy in the background, too. Jackie calls him King, as in, like, chin up, King, your crown is falling, or that's not how that works, King, but he doesn't really have a proper name. As you can see, I have run out of fucking ideas. I'm very proud of how I got the hair on this one. I've never been able to do hair in, like, more traditional. I've never been able to shade hair like this, where it's, like, swept back in more traditional art, in a way that I liked, and I'm really, really happy with how the shading on this came out. One thing I do regret is that I made the shadow for that little thing of hair in front of the forehead a little too wide, but, like, so it just looks weird. But otherwise, I'm really, really happy with this piece. I think I did a good job on the shading. I think I did a good job on, maybe not the colors so much, but I like the harmonization of the colors. I like how everything fits together. God, I really am just so fucking happy with that hair, with how that hair came out. And I'm really happy with how the colors of the eyes came out. I've never been good at picking, like, disparate colors for eyes. And since this was for an art fight reference, I ended up adding his full name to the piece. This is actually a pixel font I downloaded for unrelated reasons. And then we've got this second piece where I wanted to do something more symbolic, thematic, illustrative, whatever. I decided to go for a big goop beast in the background, sort of coming out of Jackie. The file name ends up being Jackie Temptation, which, with the idea being that in the thing in Jackie's head is calling to him, like the One Ring, offering great power with haha, don't worry about it kind of drawbacks. That was me color picking the skin color. I also, again, I don't know if this is going to end up in the final draft. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work, but I also really enjoy the idea of when shit gets real, the king doing some werewolf shit and forcibly transforming Jackie, and getting him to be able to destroy other eldritch beasts that are coming after them. I really am just very, very happy with how these came out. very happy with those hands, like the big beast hands and the claws on them. I'm just very happy with them. I like them a lot. The biggest thing, it's really interesting. I found I got a lot more, not necessarily control, but I liked the way the pixel art came out better than I have with, like, higher resolution art in the past. I think partially because it is so, like, out. It's not, oh, you're filling in a lot of the gaps. You as the viewer are filling in a lot of the gaps, and you're not, I as the artist am not required to, you know, put down every bolt and screw, which is never something I've been good at. Oh, something that I do later is I really liked how in the sketch, when I put in Jackie's head, it looked like the circle of the sketch of his head was like the eye of the creature. I ended up adding that in later as, I think I made it like just like glowing lines around it. I really, really liked that. I just found for me that it was much more fluid and intuitive to do the pixel art and like simplify with the pixel art. I really like doing big blocky shading and big blocky colors with not a whole terrible lot of detail. Here I picked a sort of pink color for his shirt because I was going to choose like a beige, like a freaking off-white or something, but I didn't like how the colors looked. So I decided that is a woman's blouse and it was a slight pink. The pants are blue. They are not blue jeans. They are just, I ended up making the fit look like a modern day fucking rich frat boy or some shit. Like the colors, which was not on purpose. It's just, they're supposed to be like linen pants, like stylish linen pants. I ended up filling in the background with a color because it's really hard for me to, well, one, do all of the coloring and shading and do all that with a blank background, but also two, it's hard for me to figure out what it's going to look like, because right now, as you can see, Jackie's really bright, and I do want that. I want him to be the focal point, of this piece. Yeah, and you can see up in the top that I did the, like, scribbly eye thing. I want him to be the focal point of this piece. I want him to be the center point, but I don't want the beast to be, you know, receding into the background too much. This is me figuring out, I want to make it glow, like the eyes glow. And again, if it was traditional art, I would know how I would do that. I do not know how to do that with pixel art. That actually started giving me a headache, so I nixed that and did something else. I did like the kind of fuzzy look, but I cannot emphasize enough, it was literally giving me a headache. It was so bad. Oh, I didn't mention this. You can see actually with the, like, the arms and the, like, ground that Jackie's standing on, I used a gradient tool to make them fade into the background. And I'm really, really happy with how that came out. I'm surprised it was so gradual. Like, it makes sense. It's the whole point of the tool, but it still looks really, really good. I found that I really like doing, like, a mixed media kind of thing with pixel art, where I add something incongruously high definition over top of it. There is a version of this with that. I added, like, I actually found people sell, like, original tickets for the Titanic. I found some pictures of those. I found an illustration of birds, because Jackie's nickname growing up was Little Bird. That's actually his call sign. And what was the other thing? It was like a gold mask. That was the other one. I didn't super like how that came out, but I liked the doing of it. This is just me doing some shading. I, again, really like doing cell shading. Oh, and something, when I'm using Fire Alpaca, this is not as true when I'm using Clip Studio Paint, but when I'm using Fire Alpaca, I do not like using the multiply blend layer. I prefer using the like hard light or soft light. I think this one is hard light, it looks like, yeah. I don't like how with a multiply layer, you, especially with like black or white, you either get like 100% black or 100% white. I tend to work with far ends of the extremes of the color scale. So for me, it matters if, you know, if I put a really dark color over a really light color, is it going to show up just as itself? I hate that. This is also like another good example. The shoes are of why I am enjoying pixel art right now. I drew that foot as facing a weird direction, and right here I add in the sole so it looks like it's facing a cool direction that doesn't look bad. And I like it a lot better. This is the point where I forget that I turned down the transparency of my shading layers, Loredump. And I made the light lines go away while I'm filling this in, just so I can see what I'm doing. That ends up biting me in the butt. I need to figure out if Fire Alpaca has I think it does have a color palette window tool thing, that I can put there instead of the brush sizes. Cause I kept having to, you'll see it later, but I kept having to swap. I should have been using the X to swap between the two colors. Oh, fuck. I really like these teeth. I tried to make them look like fossil teeth, like how, like Sue, the big T-Rex, like how her teeth, or how their teeth look, where it's like teeth set into a skull. But also this is a goop guy, and then I didn't put any shading on the lines. But yeah, there's a point later on where I'm swapping between the shading and the highlighting colors by just going to a layer, putting it at full resolution, eyedropping it, and then turning it back to whatever transparency I had it at. I'm so happy with how these fucking hands came out. Oh my god, they look so cool. Like, look at that. That shit's awesome. And I made a point of emphasizing the claws because that felt good and correct. This actually fucks me up later on. I, as you can see, don't have the light lines on. I'm about to turn them on, I think, yes. There's like 2 stray pixels up near the top that just look really weird because the light lines make it brighter, but they also like just don't overlap with the shading. It just looks really, really weird. I think I fixed it right here. I like the hair less on this one, but I'm still like really happy with it. Yeah, see, right here. I was also having a problem where my pen on my drawing tablet is set up so that when I press one of the buttons, it does the eyedropper tool, and sometimes it would get stuck like that and stop letting me interact, and the only solution I found is closing Fire Alpaca, just like fully restarting it. So I don't even know if you can tell that. It's probably coming up. I had to do that for this. I'm trying to think of like any specific symbolism. This I feel like is a scene that happens in not necessarily the Mind Palace, but the internal world, where the big goop monster is the... I'm not entirely sure. Big goop monster would probably be some kind of manifestation of the creature. As you can see, I'm doing some highlighting there, not working out. The creature he's sharing a head with, eyes would be like, hey bestie, you should let me steal your eyes. It'll totally be fine and nothing will go wrong. I liked the look of a halo around his head too. I think that was pretty clear. And then this is just the full piece. This is the same font from before. There is stuff I could change, but overall I'm very, very, very happy with it. And I don't think I have much else to say about it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a good time. If you liked it, I'm probably going to be releasing more of these. You should ask me about Jackie. I like him. He's cool. He's my good friend.